KIVA 93.7 FM, the Wendy app, rockoftalk.com. I'm Eddie Aragon, the Rock of Talk. Glad to be here with you for another edition of Tego and Tracy Venturi, the Venturi Real Estate Group from Keller Williams Realty. You can dial them directly, 448-8888. That's 448-8888, or find them directly at the #1 real estate website in the state of New Mexico, WelcomeHomeABQ.com. That's WelcomeHomeABQ.com. Tego, Tracy, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. If you're watching us on video, we're having microphone wars over here. So
he keeps moving it.
Last week I couldn't hear her because she kept turning her head away from the microphone. Come on, Eddie, tell her this is radio. You got to talk.
No separation. There's no boundaries. And you guys are just out there, just getting it done and doing it out there in the market.
Yep.
I'm proud to have you guys as clients. More than 7 years we've been doing the radio show. As you heard them last week, it keeps them sharp. We always have the homes of the week. And folks, it is a crazy time in the real estate market. Crazy weather, snow in October, snow in September, and everything seems to be falling. But the prices of real estate, folks, it's only going up. The seller's market, it's time to get in. We'll let Tego and Tracy tell you about all the details. Take it away, guys.
Eddie, that was beautiful. Everything's falling except the price of real estate.
Yep.
Wow. And it's so true. Tons of market data, national market data came out this week with national new home sales stats from the National Association of Home Builders. Home price consumer index, the Case-Shiller report came out. Just a lot of stuff, and I'll give you the short of it. The headline: it's basically the real estate market is on fire, and there's every stat that you can point to is confirming that. And we've known that here locally, and we can get into that a little bit more later, Tracy, about what's going on here locally. Are we the seasonal stuff and where we are in the Albuquerque real estate market right now. So, but you really wanted to talk about first-time home sellers or home selling. Maybe you haven't sold a home, maybe not a first-time home seller, but you're somebody that's going to be selling your home. You're thinking about it. You've heard that prices have gone up a lot, and you've been thinking about selling anyway, and maybe it's time. So we're going to dig into that a little bit, Tracy, and what people should be thinking about when it comes to that, right?
Yep, absolutely. So a lot of people, when we talk to them, Tego, they say, I've never sold a home before. I've bought a home, but I've never sold a home. So we're going to talk about being a home seller from the perspective of I've never done this before, or it's been a long time and things have probably changed since the last time I did this. So we're going to cover that. We're also going to talk a little bit about how to sell a home and buy a home at the same time, because a lot of folks do either want to or need to sell their current home to buy their next home. And we've got some solutions for that.
We do. In fact, we have a new solution that's going to be coming into our market soon that'll offer options for folks on that, because that's I think a lot of times where people get stuck when they want to sell. They're like, well, I need to sell, I can't afford 2 homes. What do I do? How do I get my home sold, move into the home I want? And so we can help with that. So,
right.
So Tracy, first let's talk about I want to ask you, like when you're thinking of selling, what are some of the things you should think about first? Where do you start?
Well, where do you start? I would say first you call us, but that's my bias, right? So talking to a great realtor first, we know that people listen to Eddie from all over the state and all over the country.
Yep.
We're happy to help you find a great agent in whatever market you're in if it's not us. So talking to the realtors, so not all realtors are the same, right? So if you call and talk to 4 agents from the same brokerage, right? 4 different people from Keller Williams, 4 different people from RE/MAX licensed realtors, how they sell, how they market, what they do in their real estate profession can be very different, right?
We're all independent, correct?
Right.
I mean, our situation is a little bit different than many in that we have a team of us that all work together. So we have specialists within our company. However,
and they do things the same, right?
And they do, because we have a system and a process in just the way we do things, because it works.
Right.
After years and years and years of 2,000 plus homes sold, we know what works and doesn't work, right? So, but I think what your point is that not all realtors do things the same way, and I'm not slamming realtors. There's the reality is there's 4,000 licensed realtors in Albuquerque. Okay. And you've got people that are brand new in the business. You've got people that have been doing it forever, right? And so it does make a difference in the way they do it, and actually interviewing and understanding that is important. So let's go back to, why would somebody want to talk to a realtor first, though?
So in my opinion, getting good information on your home, the condition, how to best present your home, and getting good advice. So a lot of times we meet with somebody and they've already done some updates or remodeling, or they're halfway through a project, and we go, that's probably not the most important thing to work on to get your house ready for sale. So let's talk early.
Yep.
And put that plan together for what's going to make a difference to net you the most in the time frame that works best for you. Right?
Sure. Well, and so when we do that consultation, right? And I think a lot of people think, okay, we're going to do all this and this. I watched Home and Garden, HGTV, and I know what to do, and I know what's important. And that may be true. However, if you get the realtor in there to show you what's going on, that's going to help. I think so many times people think of the realtor, our job is to just come in there and tell them what their home is worth and do all the marketing. But part of that whole thing is getting the home ready and merchandising it, correct?
Right. And, we have a lot of resources. So that's part of getting your home ready for sale. A lot of people don't have go-to people to do painting, roof touch-up, some maybe staging, yard cleanup, things like that. We have quite a few resources to help people, not that they work for us, but a lot of our clients have given us the names of who have worked really well for them. So we keep a list, of course.
So what are some of the things people should absolutely do when they're getting their home ready for sale?
So the first thing I'd say is the most important, depending on what the house condition is cleaning it, right? Making it clean.
Yep.
Putting things away,
Yep.
Packing up half of everything that's on the shelves, and getting it so that it's more of a product versus your home, which is kind of one of the first things that I usually tell people is get used to the fact that this is now a product. This is now something we're merchandising, right?
Correct.
And it might be different than how you live. That ottoman or those 12 ottomans that you have there, or that great big bean bag. Whatever.
There's a mind shift there, right? You have to have a little bit of a mind shift. It's like, okay, now it's not my home. It's not this place where we've made all these memories over the years. Now it's something that I'm trying to sell. I'm trying to get the most money I can for it in the most convenient way possible, right?
Right. Exactly.
So right now, I want to go back to that stat that I bring up all the time that the National Association of Realtors talks about. He said, and they did a thing like regret. They do this whole big survey of home buyers and home sellers. But for home sellers, they ask, what is the biggest mistake, or what is the biggest regret you have in selling your home? And the number one always is, I didn't start preparing soon enough.
Right. It takes time, right? We've got life. We've got kids at home going to school. We had snow day this week.
Yep.
Life gets in the way of getting your house ready for sale. And so it does seem to take longer for a lot of people than they expect it will to get their house ready to be a product on the market, right?
So for first-time home sellers, let's just real quick, just the nuts and bolts of how is the process. And I just want to remind people, you're listening to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk with Tego and Tracy Venturi Realty Group of Keller Williams Realty. And we're at 448-8888 here in Albuquerque if you have any questions. So what, just the nuts and bolts, how does it work? It's like, okay, I want to sell my house. What happens next?
So we meet, we talk about, the information about your home. We look at market data for other homes of similar condition, similar size in the area, to see what condition they were in and what they sold for.
Yep. And the term we always use is the comp, right? So comparable homes to figure out, to kind of analyze what the market price could be of the home, correct? Right.
So we're looking at, data from the area to determine what the market might support for selling price for your home. And, we go through that, and we're not the ones pricing your home, right? We're looking at the market with you to help you come up with the right price to market your home. So we do that by looking at photos of other homes that have sold, what they've sold for, what kind of features are the same or different, you know, a 3-car versus a 2-car, or
finishes, square footage, right? And it's exactly what
yards,
appraisers do.
Views,
Yep.
all the things the appraisers do. So we help you become educated to what the market is, so that it's not, I mean, this pricing is, it's not a science, but it's not a shot in the dark.
No, it's
right?
there is some science to it. However, the market will in the end always tell us where it is, even if it's
Right.
and people are going to freak out if I say this, but even if it's priced low, you know, and we've seen it a lot lately where homes are getting over list price, because you look at all the comparable sales recently and you're just going, well, I don't see how it could sell for that much. But the market has moved so fast this summer and now early fall that prices are going up faster. So homes are actually selling over list price. Very unusual. And this is just a phenomenon that's happened in the last 5 months.
Right. The other things we do, we're going to talk about merchandising your home. If there's things that, you know, you have questions about, should I, shouldn't I, we're going to talk about those things, talk about how buyers respond to homes. What I know from showing thousands of homes is buyers decide very quickly if your house is the right one. We get in the front door and usually within 10 seconds, the buyers are saying, oh, I love this house. Oh my gosh, this is great. And then, you know, they say, oh, I wanted a 3-car garage, but that's okay. They kind of overcome their objections because the house is speaking to them. Or 10 seconds in the door, they're like, yeah, I don't even need to go upstairs, right? It's that they get that feeling right away. And having a clean, good smelling, not overly scented presentation is really important. And the lights on and it light and bright and things. But one of the most cost-effective things people can do to get their home ready for sale, every study I've seen in my 18 or 19 years in real estate says paint your house, right? Refresh it, paint it, change out those outlet covers so they're not all yellowed from years of use, right? Or dirty. Just change out those things, refresh.
Well, and what you're talking about, I mean, painting goes back to cleaning, right? Making the home feel fresh and clean and ready for a new person. It would be just like checking into a hotel and you've got, let's see, I don't want to say anything gross, but let's just say, you know,
hair in the shower.
Hair in the shower is what I was going to say. It's kind of gross, but you know, I mean, it'd be the same thing, right? People don't want to see that. So let's talk about just the process. So photographs and how that works, Tracy, and you know, like the tours and all the stuff we do. Yeah.
Sure. So once we decide, you know, how we're going to work together to market your home and what the timing's going to be and putting it together to hit the market, we arrange professional photography, and we include those virtual walkthrough tours. So it's a scan of the home that does a footprint, so people can literally from their mouse or their phone walk through the house, right? They can look up, down. It's not just a camera in the middle of the room doing a 360, right? It's very immersive walkthrough tour. And we're seeing high use of those by buyers.
Obviously, you know, when you know, back in March when everything came down, we've been doing these virtual tours now for a few years, but now it's become much more commonplace because, you know, if you don't have to show the home, it's better, right? I mean, you know, people can decide if it fits for them, and then they can go out and see it. So
that's a good segue to what I was going to say next.
Great.
So one of the things we do that we think has been really, really great, and we've done it way before COVID, and it's worked exceptionally well during this time, is we like to do a real kickoff to that house coming on the market. We call it a grand open house. We like to hold the showings for 2 or 3 days if possible. Like, we make the house active, but you might not be ready to show it for 2 days. We'll have an open house on the Saturday or Sunday.
So some pre-marketing.
Yep. And on Saturday or Sunday, the first, second, third, fourth day that the house is available on the market, we hold a grand open house, and we advertise it extensively so that we try to have most of the people through your house in the same 2 or 3 hour window.
So you condense that first week of showings down into a couple hours.
Right. And it's less inconvenient for sellers that are still living in their homes, because instead of having 10 showings throughout the day, they're going to have them all at the same time. And it lessens the amount of time people are in your home, right? We get it all done you're gone with your dogs or whatever. And
so something, if nobody's ever sold a home before, going back to the whole first time home seller thing. So showings, we keep talking about showing. How does that work for somebody that's never sold their home? It's like, how do we do that?
So there's some variations on how it's done, but generally we have an app that we set up for your house and for you and however many people need access to it in your household. And when a realtor wants to make an appointment to show your home, they get online and they make an appointment on the app.
Yep.
You get a message either in email, a phone call, or text.
Yep. Or in the app.
In the app, but notification.
Yep.
And you can say, yes, that time works. Or is it possible to change that time if you've downloaded the app? And
Lockboxes, and speak to that too.
Yeah, so we've put a lockbox on your house.
Mm-hmm.
It's specific to realtors. It's not one where we could give out a code, like if you locked yourself out. You have to have the app to be able to use the satellite system to open the lockbox, right?
Well, and it allows us to track which realtors have seen the house, so we can get feedback and see if there's some interest
we
there.
We know who opened the lockbox,
yeah.
right? We have it all set up. So they make the appointment with you. They say, I want to see today from 2 to 3 or whatever. You say yes. You leave the house. When you leave the house, hopefully if you have pets, you're able to either kennel them or take them with you.
Okay.
Or put them in the yard and put a note on the door so people know if it's okay or not to go out in the yard. But then the realtor shows up, uses the lockbox to go in the house, shows the house to the clients. Sometimes we're doing them virtually now, a lot of FaceTime showings and a lot of in-person showings. And, they follow whatever the showing conditions are, whatever we put in the broker-to-broker comments. And they view the property. And before you leave, we're going to ask that you make the house in the best possible light, right?
Sure.
So we want the blinds and curtains open. We want lights all on. We want it as fresh and clean and light and bright as you can make it. And light and bright and fresh and clean means not overly scented. Sometimes we go in houses and like for the rest of the day, you can smell the scent on your hair and in your clothing. People don't like that. They also
some people are very sensitive to that, right?
Very. A lot of chemical sensitivities too. Yeah. And also, sometimes I go in and people have left like music on, like to set a mood. Well, it's really kind of awkward when you walk in and you hear noise. It sets a tone that kind of confuses people.
You think so?
I do, because you walk in and you feel like maybe somebody's home. It's like if you hear some like TV
like the
or
TV's on,
the radio going, you kind of feel awkward. And it's, it might not be the musical choice of the client looking at the house, so it might not resonate and make an overall good feel. Sometimes, a lot of times the music that's on is classical, which is fine, but it doesn't appeal to a lot of people, and so it doesn't really set the right mood for them.
Well, if you had like a big open house, I could see having that just to create the energy in the house. To have the music, you're looking at me like you disagree.
If I were having an open house, I would have on Saturday, I'd have on football, college football.
Yeah.
And on Sunday, I would have on the NFL football because, that's what people would want.
What if it's not football
classical
season?
Yeah. Well, it happens to be right now.
So let's wrap this up. So, or just go to the end game here where, now we've got the home in the market, we've marketed it, got people coming through, you get the offer. Okay. So just talk about the offer process, the closing process, the inspection process, all of that.
Oh boy,
I know.
Gotta go fast.
I know. You got to go really fast because
Okay.
I still got to get to some market data that's really exciting. So don't miss it.
I know we're gonna run out of time. We might have to finish. So and anytime, just give us a ring, 448-8888, because I know we're covering a lot of information here. So we get an offer. We call you, say congrats, we've got an offer, or we've got some offers. We talk about when we should go over them. And so we put together kind of an overview sheet of the offer and the main bullet points, closing date, what they're offering financially, what type of loan it is, or if it's cash, what that whole process looks like, what kind of inspections they might be asking for, is there an appraisal? So we put that all together. We look at the offers. We put together a sheet that kind of shows all the different costs based on the offer. So we kind of know what the total cost will be to you. to sell the house based on how the offer is written. And then, you know, if we need to counter any details to make it work for you, we do that. Otherwise, we can accept the offer and then we go into a pending status. So we stop showings and the buyer starts their due diligence period. So they're going to start setting up inspection times, let us know, so that we know that they're going to be there with their home inspector and what other inspections that they might want.
Sure.
After inspections, they have an opportunity to ask for repairs. And that's sort of the second negotiation, right? What things that, you know, home inspectors always find things. A lot of houses are very clean and in very great shape, but they're still going to find some things.
Well, and it's not like they're out to find stuff. It's just that there's certain things that are on the checklist for home inspectors that we just, as homeowners, don't necessarily pay attention to, and it could be very minor, like a cracked, you know, wall plate on an outlet, right?
Yeah.
You know, an outlet cover.
The most common things we see are water heaters beyond their useful life
Yep.
and maybe percolating and making noise, or they're maybe not heating water hot enough the way, like if they're turned all the way up and the water's not that hot, it's a problem.
Drippy T&P valve, which is the safety valve on hot water heaters. Those will wear down and break a leak over time. And then, of course, roofs. And, of course, this week probably people found out that they had a roof leak.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know it.
Knock on
I know.
wood,
well,
something.
I mean,
we haven't had any calls from our
but I mean,
anybody.
that's what happens in New Mexico. We go with these long stretches with no moisture, and then we get, you know, like a snowstorm like we had this week.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's something wrong with the roof. People generally don't go on the roof. I mean, really, people should be getting up there, or at least having somebody go up there twice a year to do the maintenance, right?
So those are the big ones.
Yeah.
So we get through that negotiation on repairs, and then we're waiting basically for the appraisal to take place.
Yep.
The appraiser is, it's funny, I was thinking about this the other day. Appraisers are not appraising like a shot in the dark. They actually get a copy of the contract, and they're just justifying for a lender that the house is worth what the buyer is willing to pay.
Yep.
So it's not like they get the same price
I think
as the list or the offer price by accident. They get a copy of the contract.
The phone line's ringing away here.
It's great.
Yeah, it's good people calling us. So the thing is, people think the appraisers set the value, and the appraisers do not set value. Appraisers are justifying that what the buyer wants to pay is fair based on the current market conditions, and that the bank is making a loan based on real value, not some fake, you know, number, right?
Right.
And there's a lot, very strict guidelines on what the appraisers have to follow around that, correct?
Right. So we get towards the actual closing date. You've been packing up, getting yourself ready to move, dealing with all of that. And then we have the actual signing for closing. And very often we, until like the last 2 or 3 days before closing, we don't have final numbers. The buyer's loan is still being finalized. We get a time to go in and sign, and usually buyers want us to sign in the morning because they want to have the process happen quickly. I know.
It was just like Vice President Pence.
Yeah. I know. I keep shooing it away. Anyway, we go to closing. We sign. They sign the package, lending package that was all signed, gets sent back it gets scanned in, sent to the lender. The lender approves it, sends the funds over to the title company, and says, title company, we're good. Go ahead and record this at the county and disperse funds. So the recording at the county in most counties around us is electronic now, but it still has a cutoff, typically 3 in the afternoon. So if they don't get the word by 3 in the afternoon, then it would be the next morning that the sale would be final.
There's this whole debate in the realtor community. It's like, when does ownership actually transfer? And technically it's when the deed is signed and money changes hand. But generally, we say when it's recorded at the county of where it is really when the ownership has changed. I mean, we're splitting hairs here, and that's just this whole legal debate. But for our purposes, once it's recorded at the county, that's when the ownership is official and changed.
And there's lots of other little steps in there. We haven't talked about packing, moving, cleaning, utilities,
oh my gosh,
transfers.
Yeah, I mean,
so many
there's
details.
so much, and I think it illustrates how it's a big process, and people need a guide to navigate that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
This fly in our little studio here in our office won't leave us alone. So.
Yeah. So anyway, Tego.
Yes.
tell us what's been going on with the real estate market. I know you've been all over stats this week.
There's been so many things that have come out this week, and it's really interesting because everything from like rental, right, and what's going on in the rental market, because there's a big concern that there's a lot of people that haven't been able to pay their rent, nationally, and that we're going to have this come right now. There's an eviction moratorium depending on who has financed the property.
Right.
There's an eviction moratorium.
Not all lenders.
Yeah, not all lenders. Anyway.
Not all loan types.
Yeah, not all loan types. So anyway, to make a long story short, the good news is the statistics are really good. So I pulled this up, forget who puts this out, but it has to do with how much people are paying into rent. And really, it's not much different than last year. It's down slightly. So it's 90.6% in October this year versus 92.4% October of 2019.
Is that stat, what you're saying is that's the number of people who are keeping up with their rent?
Correct. So that's the good news. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people that have not been able to pay their rent. And one thing I wanted to point out is that the MFA or NMMFA, New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority, does have programs for tenants and landlords that have been unable to pay rent because of the pandemic. So it's and I'm sorry I don't have it on here, but just Google New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority or NMFA, and you can find about those programs. So there is some help for renters, which is great news, right? We don't, there is help out there. So that's one thing I want to...
MFA.
Yes.
NMMFA.
Yeah, I know. It's actually housingnm.org is their website. I just pulled it up here. So housingnm.org. And they're the ones that also have the financial assistance programs for first-time home buyers but they also have some rental assistance programs. So I wanted to mention that for people. And, if you know people that are in a situation, help them go figure that out, right? Go out, and if you know people that are struggling, go help them get on that program because they got to do an application and they may need help doing that.
Yep. What's been happening with home prices? Home prices.
So a couple things. One, there's a group that puts out a stat that looks at the commonly configured, air quotes, home. So 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, typical kind of home. And
in our market.
In our market, well, in every market. So they're doing it nationwide.
Interesting, because New York City and San Francisco, the typical isn't a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But
what they're trying to do is, do an apples to apples comparison, because so many times we see median price and we see average price, and that really doesn't tell the whole picture. And what they're saying is in Albuquerque, that typical or commonly configured home is listed at $243,000, and there are 58.9% less of them on the market this year than last year. Which we've seen that firsthand here in our market, and that the price of those homes the list price of those homes, again, not sale price, but list price, has gone up 8.4%.
In what time frame?
In the last year. So we're seeing home pricing going up across the board. However, if anybody saw my Facebook video that I put out, I put it on Facebook, just talking about what's happening with the home prices in Albuquerque this week, they've actually flattened out. We haven't seen, I've got a weekly tracker that shows me median price, average price per square foot. And what we've seen is actually a little bit, maybe a slight pullback and a flattening of home prices. For May, June, July, August, we just kept seeing home prices go up, up, up. It's starting to flatten out, which is common. Usually happens about a month ago seasonally, but this year it's getting pushed back a little bit more.
Actually, about 2 months ago is when it usually happens.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to out of time.
Yep.
We haven't talked about homes of the week, and really get on the website, Albuquerque Open Houses, to see what houses are open today and tomorrow. It's Halloween today. I don't know how we're celebrating.
It's Halloween.
It's Halloween, Eddie.
Yeah, time is changing. We're gonna
Christmas. Everything's happening all at once, Tracy.
We're springing forward tonight.
What's your costume,
I don't know. you guys came into my office twice for Halloween, and you guys dressed up both times. And my favorite
Oh, that's right.
picture of you guys is the one where you guys are both dressed up as doctors.
Yes.
Yep.
The
House doctors.
The house doctors.
We might be house doctors again this year.
I was
It's
kind of
pretty
more
easy.
like the mad scientist. I think was my the mad doctor.
Did we like mess your hair up or something? Kind of stick it up?
Hey, one last stat before we shut out. October so far, you're not going to hear this anywhere else. October so far, we're up 42% in pending sales versus last October.
All right.
Yeah, so October's staying strong.
With the heights, we have the lows, and it's all about singles and doubles and making sure the fundamentals. It doesn't change. You still got to list your home. You still got to merchandise it the right way. You still got to have expertise. You still got to make sure that it's priced right. And without that stats, without the merchandising expertise, and without making sure that it goes to market the right way, your house can, in fact, the house that I recently moved out of, because I was leasing the house, and I was like, okay, well, look at this house. And it's just, come on, why doesn't just, and they were asking an exorbitant amount of money. And I'm like, oh, wow, it just hit the market with no marketing, no anything. And the prices dropped 3 times, guys, 3 times. And I feel so bad for the owners because they're nice people. And, you got to just have the right information, the right merchandising. And it's got to be bad because now someone's going to think when they make an offer on it, something's wrong with the house.
Yep.
If it's not selling in 5 days in this current market, at least in certain price ranges, everybody's going to go, what's wrong with it? Why isn't it sold in a week?
Buyers are still being very careful. They're not making stupid offers on houses that aren't priced for the market.
Yep.
So
that's great. That's great news. And if you need real estate information, every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. right here with Tego and Tracy. Venturi, the Venturi Real Estate Group from Keller Williams Realty. You can dial them directly, 448-8888 or welcomehomeabq.com. Back after a quick break, we're going to improve that